Cousins. Let's start from his perspective.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, he went to the best team, top to bottom. Offense, defense, skilled guys, comfort level with the head coach. Yes, he went to an organization. The Vikings in the last 30 days, they just opened up a immaculate new practice facility in Eagan, Minnesota, right outside in one of the suburbs of Minnesota. We know from the stadium with the Super Bowl being there, great facilities that they have there. Zimmer, Rick Spielman, the general manager, the Will family, a family from New Jersey, like they have invested in this football team. Like they're trying to bring the first championship to the Twin Cities. So I felt like Kirk Cousins, the best team to go to, was going to be the Minnesota Vikings. My thing was there had to be a get-out price. And I think that was beyond the $28 million. And I had to have
What's a get-out price?
$30 million.
Where he's saying where the Vikings would tap out. A price where they would say, you know what, I'm out of the bidding.
It's too much.
It's right. A car auction and you stop putting your razor up.
I can really live with the price that they're paying per season and the amount of time that they're with. If you look at Kirk Cousins and his age, giving him a 3-year deal, given what the climate in the NFL as far as quarterbacks and some of the other important positions, yes, I believe this is the right price. I believe they did get him at the right deal, and he took some compromises. So he didn't go for the highest deal.
Right.
You know, because he could have gone to the Jets. The Jets, basically, he could have named his price there. So I like the fit. Minnesota, I believe they're doing a lot of the right things. And, I mean, this is a team that has been very, very close. As a quarterback, really helped them. If you're going to beat Aaron Rodgers, if you're going to beat them other teams in the NFC, you need a quarterback, and the Vikings have theirs.
And what the Vikings did, and where I give them credit and I give Cousins credit, because I think Cousins got the best of both worlds. He got the guaranteed deal, which I know we're going to get into. He got the ability to hit free agency again in 3 years, theoretically still at the tail end of his prime, but he also got the ability to compete for a championship right now. And that's what the Vikings were concerned about. We've discussed it, and it cannot go without mentioning that the offseason after this one, the Vikings are going to have some very difficult decisions to make. Some of their top-line players, Anthony Barr, Eric Kendricks, Sharif Floyd, Stephon Diggs on the offensive side, all of those guys hit free agency. So next offseason, they're going to have tough decisions to make. But this offseason, they looked at their team and they said, with good quarterback play last year, what were we? A Super Bowl contender. We were a team that absolutely had the argument going into the playoffs. We're one of the 2 or 3 best teams in the league. And coming out of the playoffs, could have argued we were one of the 2 or 3 best teams in the league. They were not confident, and I don't blame them, that Case Keenum was going to be able to duplicate the year he had in 2017 in 2018. So they took what Case did last year, about a 98 quarterback rating, 22 touchdowns, 7 picks, about 67% completions, and found a quarterback who that has been essentially his average year since he was a starter, a guy who has repeatedly duplicated that process. They don't need, Cece brought up a good point yesterday with Coach Mangini. They don't necessarily need far superior quarterback play than they got last year. What they can't have is a huge drop-off from where they were last year. They're confident with Kirk Cousins. He will be able to duplicate, if not improve upon, what Case Keenum did last season.
So if they're going to pay him all this money, sacrificing what could be a number of components to this team in the next year, 2, 3 years, they assume they're going to be one of the best teams in the league next year. Do you agree? Is this now the best team in the league with Kirk Cousins and this Minnesota Vikings team?
I'm not gonna go there as far as are they better than Philadelphia, because what if I say yeah? What difference does it make? What if I say no? It don't make no difference. Philadelphia are the Super Bowl champs, and they did that with the backup quarterback. Is Kirk Cousins better than Carson Wentz? Absolutely not. Like, absolutely not. But this team is a good team, and I believe that if Minnesota had home field advantage last year, they would have been in the Super Bowl. But that game, the NFC Championship, Nick, we were there in Philadelphia. They jumped. Now, they played well. They jumped all over them. But having that fan support led to them winning Super Bowl 52. So Kirk Cousins makes them a better football team. He is a better quarterback than Case Keenum, I believe, will ever be in the NFL.
And just to answer your question, while I do think that if Kirk Cousins is as good as he was at his best in Washington, I do think that would probably make the Vikings the best team in the league. But Cece's point is correct. It is not about going into the season who the best team is. It is about, do you have a credible case that you are one of the best teams, one of the teams that has a good shot, not a miracle shot to win the Super Bowl. And when we look at it now from 10,000 feet, the Vikings are on the list, along with Philadelphia, along with New England, along with Pittsburgh, as that top of the top tier of the league going into the 2018 season. Now, there's always teams that surprise us. I don't think Philadelphia was in that top tier going into 2017.
Right.
But they have made it so they can continue the trajectory on which they were on, the trajectory they got on, I feel like, when they hired their head coach, Mike Zimmer.
Right. Also, I don't know why people are so shocked with the economics that are going on in the NFL. Nick, in the last 2 years, how much money has Kirk Cousins made?
In the last 2 years?
Yes.
What's he made? $45 million, $47 million?
Okay, so how much? 22.5 a year?
What? Yeah, just around 22.5 a year.
He's getting 28 now, and what we consider now a 3-year deal in the NFL is a long-term deal. So going from 22 to 23 million to 28 million, that's not a huge jump in total free agency, where you can go to any team. So I believe the Vikings did get him at the right price. People just have to get used to. These are the economics that are going on in the NFL now. And I think that adjust your eye. I mean, we saw last year in free agency, well, Mike Glennon came from Tampa Bay to Chicago for $16 million. You know, and he's not even a starter. Sam Bradford, 1-year deal, going to Arizona for $20 million. So, man, getting Kirk Cousins at 28, like, yes, I believe that is the right price for the Vikings.
The economics, it wasn't just about the per-year price. It was about what I know you're going to get into, which is the
impact, the larger impact.
Well, and that it's a fully guaranteed deal.
Right. Which is what you've been saying all along.
This is the reason I think people were taken aback somewhat by Kirk Cousins is the Vikings and Kirk did something that I've been encouraging, this along with one of my theories you love so much, along with front-loading deals, like something that I thought could be trend-setting to a degree. Now, I didn't see it to where the player would get, to use a cliche, his cake and eat it too, top-end money and a fully guaranteed deal. I thought there might be a team that would go to a guy such as Russell Wilson when his rookie deal was up, say, hey, you're on pace at the time to make $22 million a year. We'll give you $18 million a year, but we will guarantee every single year of it. For Kirk Cousins to get a fully guaranteed deal, and this is a key point that I don't want people to forget or Vikings fans to forget, the franchise tag, how you can only be franchise tagged 3 times ever, and it gets increasingly onerous each year, that carries over from team to team. So Kirk Cousins cannot effectively ever be franchise tagged again. And so when he gets 3 years, fully guaranteed to get all his money, he also knows if I play well, if I play the way I've played over the last 3 years, I get to be a free agent all over again, a true free agent all over again without the franchise tag looming over me. I think that's what struck people was, and that's why players across the league were saying that NFL players, tell me if I'm wrong, have always envied to a degree the guaranteed portion of basketball and baseball contracts, right?
Yeah, they have, but it's not fair to compare because if you look at the numbers,
of course,
how many players are in the NFL is almost the same number of players in Major League Baseball, in the National Hockey League, and in the NBA by 300 players.
Right.
So you can't compare something in a collision sport compared to only having a roster of 12 to 15 guys. So NFL players, it's unrealistic to ever think that they could be the same.
Go ahead.
No, I'm done.
No. Of course, like it never. But guys still did it. Guys would still wonder why, even if the numbers couldn't be the same, why can their contracts be guaranteed and ours can't? And Kirk's the first one, the first significant high-dollar contract I've ever seen where it is fully guaranteed for the 3 years, and that's why you saw players across the league speaking about it.
And for people who wonder whether Kirk Cousins is worth it and what did he do in Washington, they never really. Well, now he's got people to throw to, and he's got the Adam Thielens and the Stephon Diggs, and now you can see what he can do with an offense that's already set in place. So maybe the numbers he had in Washington carry over to success.
Listen, this is what he's got. He's got a defense that can win him games, too.
Sure.
So it's not as if the Vikings were absent of a quarterback. Like, oh, Kirk Cousins is coming to say, no, this is a good football team. When you look through the roster, and now it can be stabilized with just steady, good quarterback play, and that's what I think Kirk brings to them.
Such a good football team. I know they made a conference championship with Brett Favre. But this, on paper, I believe, is the best Vikings team since you were playing. I think going into a season, this is the most complete, most potentially lack of holes Vikings team that we've seen since you were playing in the late 90s and early 2000s. At least that's how I look at it.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.